Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Yes. Anybody, please reply. Yeah. Good morning, all of you. Yes. Good morning. Am I audible now? Can anybody write down in the chat box? My voice is coming or not? Yes. Anybody can answer in the chat box, please. Okay. So I'm audible now. So let's start. Yes. Please answer. My voice is coming or not? Yes. Now I'm audible or not? Please. Okay. So let's start. So today's topic is so let's start now. Yes, I am audible now. Please answer in the chat box. So today's topic is kidney and ureteric engineers and hydronephrosis. So what do you understand by the hydronephrosis? Yes. So hydronephrosis. Hydronephrosis is the aseptic dilatation of the whole or the part of the pelvic system. Why hydronephrosis occur? It is due to the partial or intermittent interruptions in the outflow of the urine. So hydronephrosis might be unilateral or bilateral. So there are many causes of the hydronephrosis. Whenever there is the blockage of the normal pathway of the urine, that will lead to the hydronephrosis. So there are multiple causes that are some important causes are in the upper urinary tract and some are in the lower urinary tract. These are they can lead to the obstruction of the urinary tract. So, causes of the upper urinary tract obstruction can be divided into the intrinsic causes and extrinsic causes. In intrinsic causes, there are intraluminal causes and intramural causes. So, in intraluminal causes, the most common cause is the that stones, and other causes are the papillary tissue, blood clots, or tubular deposition of the crystals or fungal ball. In intramural causes, the most common cause is that is PUJ obstruction or other anatomic causes that are the tumor or infectious diseases. In extrinsic causes that the some of the are from the reproductive system, that is the carcinoma of cervix. In the uterus, it might be fibroid of uterus or pregnancy, and there are the some other ovarian tumor, or there might be prostatic carcinoma. The vascular system, that are the aneurysms, aortic aneurysm, iliac vessel aneurysm, and there are aberrant arteries, which is most commonly occur at the level of the pelvic-ureteric junction. Other causes, extrinsic causes, are the GIT causes. Some inflammatory process in the gastrointestinal tract can lead to the upper urinary tract obstruction, such as pancreatitis, appendicitis, diverticulitis. The other extrinsic causes are retroperitoneal space, lymph nodes, and there is the fibrosis, that is the idiopathic fibrosis, or tumors, primary or metastatic tumor of the retroperitoneum. And also a most important cause, that the post radiotherapy. Post radiation is also the cause of the upper urinary tract obstruction. The causes of the lower urinary tract obstruction are the urethral causes and prostatic causes and bladder causes. So in urethral causes, urethral structures might be due to the post-traumatic, post-instrumental, or infection. And tuberculosis also the one of most important causes of the urethral obstruction. Posterior urethral valve are commonly found in the children. It is also the important cause of the lower urinary tract obstruction. Stones, blood clots, periurethral abscess, phimosis, paraphimosis, mitral stenosis are the other causes. Then prostatic carcinoma or BPH. In the bladder cancer, schistosomiasis, bladder calculi, bladder trauma are the, or pelvic fracture are the other most common causes of the lower urinary tract obstructions. So hydronephrosis can be unilateral or bilateral. Unilateral hydronephrosis most commonly due to the idiopathic PUJ obstruction or calculi. It is more common in the women and more common in the right side. How hydronephrosis will present? It will present the mild aching pain in the loin, and there is the dragging and heaviness or in the affected side, on the affected side, which is worsened by the excessive fluid intake. You can there might be sometimes there's a gross hydronephrosis and the kidney size is very big. You can palpate the kidney in the loin, and there is an entity called as Dittle's crisis. In the Dittle's crisis, it is also called as intermittent hydronephrosis. In there is the you felt the loin swelling associated with acute renal pain. When the pain goes, that swelling disappear and a large volume of the urine pass due to the intermittent hydronephrosis. This is the partial obstruction due to the partial POJ obstruction, which is due to the excessive stretching, which the urine get pass and the symptoms of the pain subsided. If there is a lower urinary tract obstruction, the patient will present the symptoms of the bladder outlet obstruction. And there will be the bilateral upper urinary tract obstruction. In case of the idiopathic retroperitoneal fibrosis, it affects generally both ureters, and sometimes PUJ obstruction can be bilateral. Symptom may be referred on the one side. Hydronephrosis, all bilateral hydronephrosis might occur in the pregnancy. Imaging. So ultrasonography is a choice of imaging in case of the hydronephrosis. It is least invasive and it can easily diagnose the hydronephrotic kidney. And it is also used to diagnose the PUJ obstruction in utero. IVU, intravenous urography. Intravenous urography will help only if there is a significant function in the obstructed kidney. So in IVU, there is the dilatation of the extrarenal pelvis and minor calyxes become clubbed and their normal cupping lost. They lose their normal cupping. The level of the obstruction might be identified by the IVU. Isotope renography. Isotope renography is the best to confirm the obstructive dilation of the collecting system. That is the DTPA scan. So DTPA, diethylene triamine pentaacetic acid is DTPA. That is, it is injected and it is technetium 99 labeled DTPA injected, and it is detected by the gamma rays. In normal kidney, it easily flush out, but if there is an obstruction, it will remain for a long time. In case if you are using Lasix also. What is the treatment for the hydronephrosis? The pyeloplasty is the treatment for the hydronephrosis. The most common form of the pyeloplasty, that is called as Anderson-Heinz pyeloplasty or dismembered pyeloplasty. Anderson-Heinz pyeloplasty can be done by open approach or laparoscopic approach. In this, we dissect the upper third of the pelvic ureteric junction and we mobilize the upper third of ureter and pelvic ureteric junction. And the ureter is dismembered from the renal pelvis, and redundant renal pelvis is excised, and new PUJ is refigured. So this is the picture which is showing the Anderson-Hines pyeloplasty, in which there the extrarenal redundant. This is the extrarenal pelvis, and this is the narrowing at the PUJ. So first we have to take the ST suture, and we have to always keep in the mind we have to orient. So we have to take orientation sutures also these, and then we have to uh, dissect the ureter. We have to dissect the ureter from the kidney, and after that we have to excise this redundant pelvis of the kidney, and after that we have to again do the anosmosis using the 30 vehicle, and we have to put the DJ stent. So this is the final picture of the Anderson-Hines pyeloplasty. Now coming on the renal trauma. So renal trauma, the most commonly kidney is also the major organ which is in charge during the uh, traumatic. The common causes of the blunt injuries are the road traffic accident, sport injuries, assaults, and common causes of the penetrating injuries are the knife or gunshot. About 5 to 10% of the kidney injuries are associated with the blunt trauma, and about 70% of the kidney injuries are associated with the penetrating trauma. So, kidney is the most commonly injured organ in the genitourinary system. It is 5% of the all traumatic cases, and 15% of the all abdominal pelvis trauma cases. It is associated with the male gender or young are more commonly affected, and the incidences are the 0.5, 4.9 per lakh cases. Okay. So how will it patient with the renal trauma will present? They patient with the major renal injury will present the gross hematuria, and patient might present with the shock symptom of the shock and with microscopic hematuria. Pediatric renal trauma also, patient with the pediatric renal trauma also present with the penetrating injuries or blunt trauma. So hematuria might be absent uh, at the presentation about the 40% of the cases, because the trauma involved the extra pelvic part of the kidney. American Association of American Association for Surgery of the Trauma uh, uh, derived a system to grade the renal injury that will help. This system help the predict the need of the intervention, and it is also predict morbidity after the blunt or penetrating injury, and also mortality. So, according to the American Association for for traumatic American Association for Surgery of the Trauma, the it divide the renal injury divided the 5 grade. In the grade 1, if there's the there's the contusion where the microscopic or gross hematuria, but urological studies are normal. Second is the hematoma. Hematoma subcapsular, hematoma non-expanding without parenchymal laceration. This is the grade 1 injury. In the grade 2, the hematoma, non-expanding renal hematoma confined to the renal retroperitoneum. Uh, this is the grade 1. In the grade 1, there is the only subcapsular hematoma, non-expanding. In the grade 2, there is the hematoma, that is the perirenal space hematoma confined to the retroperitoneum, and there is the less than 1 centimeter laceration in the renal parenchyma. And grade 3, more than 1 centimeter renal cortex involvement, but without involvement of the collecting system or urinary extravasation. So, more than 1 centimeter renal cortex is involved, but without involvement of the collecting system or without extravasation of urine. Switch off. Okay. So now coming on the पूछो क्या करना है. एक Okay. Uh, yes. So type type 4, in the type 4, there is a laceration which is involving parenchyma extending through the renal cortex and medulla and collecting system. And there is the vascular. If there is the vascular involvement, the it is involving main renal artery or main vein with a contained hemorrhage. In the type 5, laceration completely shattered kidney and uh, avulsion of the renal hilum, which is completely devascularized the kidney. Okay, so this is the grade for the, the the laceration which is involving in the collecting system, and there is the major vascular injury, renal artery or vein injury, or it might be arterial blood clot from the endothelial injury, or in the type grade 5 injury, the kidney is shattered. There are the multiple level uh, injuries in the kidney, and there the avulsion of the renal hilum. So this is the CT which is showing the involvement of the left side, contusion of the left side kidney, and this is the uh, a higher grade of injury that is showing the non-perfused left kidney after distillation of the trauma, the intimal disruption with the thrombosis of the renal artery. There is a thrombosis of renal vessels. That is the cutoff sign. Okay. So how will you manage of the patient with the renal trauma? You have to evaluate first of all these patient the polytrauma. So you have to evaluate. You have to first start the management on the ABC line. You have to start the initial assessment. First, you have to check for airway, breathing, and circulation, and simultaneously you have to resuscitate the patient, and you have to, if the patient is hemodynamically stable, then you have to further evaluate the patient in the form of the uh, investigation. First investigation in case of the trauma is the fast, and if the fast is positive, then you have to go for the definitive further advanced investigation, that is the contrast enhanced. If the patient is in hemodynamically stable, then you have to go for the contrast enhanced CT scan. You have to take the complete history and do the physical examination. You have to send the blood for routine investigation and blood for the cross matching, and you have to further evaluate and simultaneously resuscitate the patient. So it might be you have to put the Foley's catheter if there is a urethral injury, if there is the hematuria, or you can do the dipstick test. You have to do the serial hematocrit determination to assess the severity of the injury, and you have to measure the creatinine level also, if to identify the pre-injury compromise state of the kidney. So then after the CT scan, you have to create the renal injury and document any renal pathology to demonstrate the presence of the contralateral kidney. You can demonstrate by the using of the ultrasound or the higher imaging, and you also look for the injuries to the other organs. In patient with the blunt trauma, the criteria for the imaging. If the patient is having blunt trauma, and what are the criteria for the imaging? Imaging CCT abdomen. That if the patient is having gross hematuria, if the patient is hemodynamically unstable, if the patient is having microscopic hematuria, and suspicion of the injury or screening radiograph. These are the indication in the blunt trauma cases for the CCT abdomen. Indications of the imaging and penetrating injury: patient with the penetrating injury who are hemodynamic stable. Imaging is indicative for any degree of hematuria, either microscopic or gross, in case of the penetrating injuries. Contrast enhanced CT scan is the investigation of the choice to detect the renal injury. So in these cases, we have to do the arteriovenous phase with delayed imaging to evaluate the urinary collecting ducts. Ultrasonography, IVU, and MRI have limited role in case of renal trauma. Management: operative versus non-operative management. So in the non-operative management, we do the either conservative management or we can take the help of the interventional radiology. The patient with the renal injury of the grade 1 to 3 and which are hemodynamically stable managed by the conservative non-operative management. Grade 4 injury can be managed by non-operatively, or if the patient is deteriorating or they the sign of the their sign of the loss of blood, continuous loss loosening of the blood due to the rapidly decreasing hematocrit, we can go for the operative management in case of the grade 4 injury. Nowadays there is a more and more non-operative management is favored by the many authors. Then we can take the help of the interventional radiology by the using the renal arteriography and selective angioembolization. Operative management: the high grade of injury of the grade 4 and 5, these patients need the operative management, and the patient having concomitant intraperitoneal injury require the surgical exploration. Hemodynamically unstable patients which are going to directly operating room, they are the some criteria for the exploration of the kidney. Some are the absolute criteria for operative exploration of the kidney: patient with hemodynamically unstable and which is going directly to the operating room. There are the absolute criteria for the operation of the kidney, that if there is a renal hematoma which is expanding, pulsatile hematoma in the renal area, and persistent renal bleeding. These are the absolute criteria for the for the exploration of the kidney. They are the relative criteria for the renal exploration: that persistent urinary extravasation, non non-viable renal parenchyma, arterial injury, incomplete renal staging. Now, third topic is urethral injury. Urethral injuries are uncommon. It is count about 1 to 2.5% of all urological injuries. These are urethral injuries are rarely life-threatening, but occur in the context of the complex polytrauma. 5 to 10% of the penetrating abdominal or pelvic injury have the urethral involvement. We have to evaluate the mechanism of injury, what is the site of impact or anatomical location, and overall condition of the patient. Sometimes there is an uncommon entity that due to the hyperextension, there is the rupture of ureter, hyperextension of the spine in the root traffic accident. There is the rupture of ureter. It will not diagnose uh, before then. Then it will not diagnose before the swelling appear in the loin or iliac fossa, and patient also associated that there is the reduced urine output. And IV or contrast and CT shows extravasation of the contrast. Injury to one or both ureter during pelvic surgery, the most oftenly occur during the vaginal or abdominal hysterectomy, when there is the uterus mistakenly divided, ligated, or crushed or excised. So this is the most commonly occur during the abdominal gynecological surgeries. So you have to keep in the mind, and you have to keep in the high index of the suspicion. So if it is advisable, whenever there is a chances of the difficult surgery, or there is the anatomy is not clear, then you should go for the pre-operative ureteric catheterization, DJ stenting. So CCT, uh, ureteral imaging, so contrast enhanced CT is the investigation of choice and must include the delayed imaging to evaluate the urinary extravasation of the contrast. We can find in the ureteral injuries, and there might be the absence of the contrast material to the distal part of the ureter, or it might be ipsilateral hydronephrosis. So these are the finding of the CCT in case of the ureteral trauma. How you will manage these ureteral injuries? There's the uh, gold standard answer is that ureteral injuries always best managed by the surgical repair. So don't go for the conservative. Endoscopic ureteral stenting or percutaneous diversions are reserved for the patient which have missed injuries, and the patient which are morbid, and where the result of the primary anosmosis is unsuccessful, likely unsuccessful. So we can do the endoscopic ureteral stenting or percutaneous divergence. Surgical exploration and